closer, closer, closer than I ever been.
Alright, what's up guys? We're back for part 2 of the CSS tutorial. I know it's been a minute since I've uploaded and I do apologize. I've been dealing with some health issues and whatnot. I don't really want to jump too far into it. Just know I'm feeling a little bit better now and I can at least make a video. And the next thing is we're almost at 500 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's hop into the video. Alright, what the fuck is up guys? We're in the main portion of this video now, and before we get started I just want to give a little disclaimer. My blue snowball is messed up for some reason right now. I don't know why. I tested the audio, does not work properly, so I will try to fix that for next video, but for now we're using the earbuds, so please stick with me for that. So let's jump right into it. Alright, so I know the first box on this page looks familiar from the last video, but everything else is a foreign language. I get it, so I'm going to start explaining. I really only added the second box just to show you the difference in the borders. Ooh, I know, dotted, it's so cool, but it does give a different style to the page and a whole different look. So if that's what you're looking for, go for that one. If not, the bold option or the solid option is always a good default as well. So the next part of box 2 is the background color is just a light gray. Margin padding, blah blah blah. I explained that in the box model in the last video, so you should know that, but for a quick reiteration, the padding is between the element and the border. The border is the border, as you can see, and then the margin is what's on the outside. So you kind of just got to drill that in your brain to memorize it. The next thing I want to look at real quick are just the H1 properties and values for both boxes. This is what's called a global style, so it just pertains to any H1 that's on the page. It's not specified to one box. So the first one is text align center. I'm sure it's a lot of these are going to be very self-explanatory, but they're good to know just for when you're designing a page. So the first one's text align center. As you can see, it's in the center. Text decoration underline. You can also do like line through, I think there is, and then dotted as well if you want to do that, so whatever you want. Okay, so font weight is a different way to show the boldness. So 800 is pretty high up on the scale. It's a scale from 0 to 1000, so 800, it is pretty bold, this heading is, but if we were to take it down to 400, it's going to be a lot less, as you can see right here. So whatever your preference is, whatever you're looking for that specific website that you're building. The next one is font style, which is pretty self-explanatory as well. These ones are italicized. Text transform is the next one, uppercase. You can do lowercase if you'd like, and I know I'm going through these pretty quickly, but it's because they're pretty easy to grasp the concept of. So the next one is letter spacing, which is measured in EMs instead of pixels, as well as word spacing. So let's say I take the letter spacing to 0.4 and then refresh it. As you can see there, it spreads it out a lot more. So you really don't use these too often, but they're good to know. So let's take it back to 2, save it, refresh, and we're back where we started. Okay, for the next portion of this video, we have lists, which I know I explained in the PowerPoint in the last video, but we're going to add in an unordered list here just to give you some examples of what you can do with the CSS for this. So we added in a div with a class of categories as well as an H2 with categories. We're going to show you the styles here in a second, but UL is an unordered list, and OL would be an ordered list, which shows, since we have 4 here, it'd be 1 through 4. But these are just going to be bullet points, which as you can see there's not here, but I'll explain why in a second. And so we have LIs, which stands for list items, and then A's are links, which I explained in the previous video as well. And so for the href, that is going to take it somewhere. That's the directory, in other words, which R's are just a number sign here because it has no directory. It's going absolutely nowhere. So it's kind of just a placeholder. And so you can put that in there for all 4 of those. And then if we come back to the styling, we can locate our categories class, which is right here. And as you can see, we have a border of 3 pixels, red, solid. Let's just say you want to do dotted. Just to show the difference, you can save it, come back over here, and it's dotted now. But the cool part about this are the curved edges, which you get through a property called border radius. And I have 10 pixels right now. Let's say you want to do 20, save it, come back over. It's going to give that more like rounded look. So I think it looks a lot cooler and adds a different vibe to the page. And then next on the list, we just have the H2 centered, which is very self-explanatory, but you just do it through text align center. So if we didn't have that, it'd be aligned on the left side, just like the rest of the links, but since it's the title and the H2, we're going to center that. And like I said before, by default, they are going to have bullet points next to all the LIs, but as you can see right here, there's none here. and this is why. List align none is here, which means there's nothing next to them. If you add in, let's say, square and save it and come back over here, they're all going to be square. So we'll just leave that for now, just for shits and giggles. But the next thing I want to talk about is actually the hover state. So let's come back up to the A's, and we have a global link for the A's right now of its text decoration none, which means there's no underline under them because that's very, very ugly, and then the color to red. And then the cool thing is, if you just do a colon hover, and this is for a button as well, which I'll show you later, but you can also do it for links, you can just change the color of whatever you're hovering over to a different color through the hover state. So we changed the color to black, so if you come over here and hover on any of 4 of these links, it's going to be black when you hover over that specific one, which is very, very cool. Okay, so that's it for lists. I know they're very, very easy to understand, so you probably have it by now, but if not, just keep practicing it. It comes naturally, I promise. And so the next thing we're going to talk about are forms, actually, which, as you can see here, is all of this. They're not contained within a div. It's actually just a form element. So it looks a little jumbled up, I get it, but let me just explain everything. So okay, so the easiest way to put it is everything within its own div is like a separate entity, but then you got to understand the parent element as well, which is the form. So this whole div right here is just for the name, and then this one's for the email, and this one's for the message that you're going to put in. And these two are very, very similar. They have the same class of form group, and then the name is the only thing that's different, and then the email. So the label is what's asking for the input, and then the input's actually where the user can put in whatever, whatever applies to them, their name, their email, their message. So the first two are very, very similar, and the last one's a little bit different. It has a text area instead of an input, which has a name of message, so it gives them the opportunity to just type in whatever they want. And so if you look over here, it actually has these 2 dots on the lower right hand side, and if you just click it, you can drag it around and do whatever you want. It's pretty cool, I guess. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with these and see them on websites all the time. So they're pretty easy to understand, but it's pretty cool when you actually do it yourself. And then the last thing, last but not least, is the button, which is my personal favorite. So it just has an input tag and then a class of button, a type of submit, and a value of submit, and no name. So this creates this button right here, and then it has a hover state already, which I'll show you in the CSS in a second. And so that concludes the form. I know it's a jumbled mess, but really it's not too hard to understand. And then actually one more thing before we go over, I added in a div down here with the style, an inline style, which you're not supposed to do, but I just did it for purposes of this video, and give it a style of margin top 500 pixels. So when I come over here, I can scroll down just so it's not shoved at the bottom of the page the whole time for you guys. Just wanted to show you guys that in case you want to do that. It kind of, it's easier even when you're working on websites to have it in the middle rather than at the bottom of the screen. It's kind of annoying, so just side note there. Okay, and so now we're back over to the CSS for the form. First things first, we're going to look at my form, which is the class of our entire form, which is the parent of the form group, and we just gave it a padding of 20 to spread it out a little bit, and then the form group a padding bottom of 15 just to give some more space as well because it was jumbled up. And I have display block commented out as well as the width of 100% just to show you what it looks like without that done. So it's just unaligned, it's not proportional, and it doesn't look clean. So this is it by default. And then if we were to take out this comment, so it says display block and then the width of 100%, you will see if we save it that it looks a lot better once you do that. So it's on different lines, and also it spreads the width of the page, which is in essence 90% of the whole width. Okay, and then the button is the last thing I want to talk about for this video because it's the coolest. We just have a background color of hashtag 333, which is light gray. It's a code for that. And then if it was 000, it would be black all the way. And then FFF is the opposite end of the spectrum, which is white. And then for the padding, we have 7 pixels top and bottom, 12 left and right, which is kind of just a good proportion. I figured out if it's anything more, it's kind of just like unproportional and chubby, I guess. And then we don't have a border on the button because usually you don't. And then this also has a hover state like I mentioned before. It has a background of red, but then the color is going to stay white, which is the FFF, which is the opposite end of the 000 black for the hexadecimal coloring. And then if you come over here and hover over it, you'll see that the background will turn to red, and then when it's off, it goes back to dark gray, which is the hashtag 333. So all of this is pretty basic stuff, but I had to get this video out because I feel bad not uploading. I still don't feel the best, but I'm getting there. So thank you so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. Expect part 3 of this series, I'd say in 3 to 4 days from now. So like this video, and if you haven't, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. We're almost at 500, and then it's road to 1,000. So thank you so much, and have a great day.
Closer, closer, closer than I've ever been.